Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer with RealTime Fantasy Sports. Welcome to another edition of the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. On today's show, I'll be joined by Logan Glaser once again of RealTime Fantasy Sports. We're going to go over the draft that just took place, the NFL draft, talk about all the positions, give our thoughts on some of the players we like, we don't like, their landing spots. Should be a lot of fun. I appreciate Logan joining me once again. I'm going to bring him up right now. Logan, thanks so much for joining the show. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jeff. It was an exciting rookie draft and ready for leagues to start going and see where these rookies fall.
Yeah, so how do you think this class compares to past drafts before we get into that? Because
Yeah,
we always like.
personally, I don't think it's the strongest rookie class. In 2021, we had a great rookie class. We had Trevor Lawrence, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Fields, Etienne, Najee Harris. Last year, it was an okay class. We had Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Kenneth Walker, and Olave. I think it's going to be more similar to 2022. I don't think it's going to be as strong as 2021. But there are some players to be excited about.
Yeah, I agree. I do think it's a little weaker. There's a couple running backs I like. The QB situation, I think, is it's kind of front loaded with the guys who are going to be good NFL players, in my opinion. Receivers, though, I think that's a little better than what people kind of give them credit for. I think there's some receivers out there could have some good NFL careers. So we're going to dive into all that. We're going to go over each position. We're going to talk about guys, their landing spots. So guys we like, guys we dislike, and a sleeper as well. So let's go into the quarterback spot first. What quarterback do you like following the draft?
Yeah, quarterback I like is Anthony Richardson. I think he's starting to become the number one quarterback taken in fantasy leagues just with the upside. He probably has one of the highest upsides that we have seen from a quarterback. He's either going to make or break a lot, definitely for the Colts, but 100 rushing yards in RT Sports leagues equals 200 passing yards. So, I mean, for a fantasy perspective, you're really looking at Richardson because, I mean, I think he's going to put up to at minimum 50 plus rushing yards per game. And for a QB position, that is very valuable, especially if he can get in the end zone. Him and Jonathan Taylor are going to be a very dynamic 1-2 combo running the ball. We still have a lot to see from Richardson from a passing perspective with some of his accuracy issues, but I really like his upside.
So it doesn't make for good viewing, but I agree with you. My pick is Richardson as well. I think he's going to be a really good fantasy option. Like you said, I don't know about the throwing the ball situation. I think he could have some struggles there, but man, he can run the ball, make big plays in the running game, kind of like Justin Fields did last year. And he moves to an offense I think suited well for him. He has a lot of talent around him. Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce at receiver. That offensive line, I know it didn't play well last year, but I still think it's pretty good. So I think he really lands in an advantageous spot to do well his rookie season, mainly because of his rushing totals. That's really going to help his weekly floor. I think he's going to be an exciting player going forward. I still have concerns about him throwing the ball and also his lack of experience. I think he started 13 games in college, so it's not a lot of experience as well. So he could definitely have some growing pains, but man, running the ball is really going to make up for that for fantasy owners, in my opinion. Let's go on the flip side. Somebody you don't like, their landing spot for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think we're similar in this one also with Will Levis being the quarterback that we both don't like. But Tennessee really lacks offensive weapons. Derrick Henry's getting older, and Tennessee, I think, is really going to struggle to move the ball. Ryan Tannehill should get the start for the season, but if he starts disappointing, then Levis can go ahead and come into that offense. But I really going to find it hard to draft Levis in any of my leagues. He's currently going about middle of round 2 in Dynasty Superflex leagues. That's a Superflex league also. So normal PPR leagues, probably Levis won't be getting drafted.
So I promise we won't pick the same guy every pick, but I have the same pick here. Will Levis, my player I don't like either. His landing spot, like you said, a bad situation in Tennessee. That supporting cast is not good. Derrick Henry's phenomenal. Treylon Burks, I think, is going to be all right. But I just don't like the rest of them. He has nobody to throw the ball to. He already has some concerns coming out of college, with accuracy issues and, maybe not performing as consistent as the college scouts would have liked as well. So I think he has some concerns and he moves to an offense. It's not going to be very good, in my opinion. Derrick Henry's getting older. They're really going to stack the box and make you try to throw the ball against them, opposing defenses, in my opinion. I think Levis is going to have his struggles until they have a better supporting cast around him. So he has some concerns for me. Let's talk about maybe a sleeper, somebody that could surprise, in your opinion, out of this quarterback class.
Yeah, he's not really considered a rookie sleeper, but I'm going with CJ Shrewd as a quarterback for Texans. Drafted number 2 overall, so that's not really a sleeper, but in fantasy drafts, he will be a sleeper because he's currently going rounds probably around 18 to 20 in normal PPR drafts. I really like his upside as well. I think he's got a really quick release, which will bold and transfer well from the college to the NFL. Texans are slowly starting to get better. They've brought in Robert Woods. They've got Nico Collins, Mechie. They also got a couple of new rookie wide receivers coming in the offense. So definitely has some pieces to build around. You got Dameon Pierce running the ball as well. So I think the Texans will be a little bit of an improved team from past years. They still won't be making the playoffs, in my opinion, but I think they'll be improved and hover 1 or 2 games below 500.
So my sleeper isn't a high draft pick or a guy that's probably going to play this year, but a guy I think could eventually maybe find the starting lineup, and I think he's a really good fit for the offense, is Stetson Bennett. Just a proven winner in college. He lacks some of those traits you look for in a top NFL quarterback. Not great size, not great arm strength, but he really places the ball well. Plays with a lot of swagger too. We saw that in big games, and he just made big plays when it mattered. And he moves to an offense I think could really be a good fit for him in Los Angeles. They really know how to scheme to their talent. So I think Bennett could end up being a starter there in a couple seasons. So in deeper dynasty formats, I'm going to take a chance on him. I mean, why not? This guy did it all in college, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does it in the NFL as well. All right, let's move on to running back, Logan. Let's talk about a running back that you like for this rookie class.
Yeah, running back I like is Jahmyr Gibbs. He was kind of a surprise pick in the draft. Gibbs going very early to Detroit Lions. It was kind of a fringe running or round 1 pick, but he ended up going 12th overall to Detroit. But I think he's the best pass catching back in this class. He's fantastic for PPR. I think it's in pretty well with Detroit's offense with how much they move the ball. They ranked 5th in the NFL last year in points per game. So getting in that running back position will be really great for him. And also Swift is on the move to Philadelphia. So you got David Montgomery that has a little bit of competition, but I think Gibbs will for sure have the third down back for sure. I think they're going to use Montgomery more as a rusher and Gibbs is out of the pass catching back, but Lions, they have been down and play high scoring games. So I really like a pass catching back in that offense.
Yeah, Gibbs is definitely exciting. I'm going to give you 2 backs that I like their landing spots. The first one is a little deeper sleeper, and that's Devon Achane. He got picked by Miami. I think this is a great spot. You got Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson ahead of him on the depth chart. 2 older backs. I know Mostert has produced in the past, but he's 31 years old now. I think a lot of people don't realize he's that old. And Achane, I think, is a good fit for this offense. He's a 3-down back, get to the next level in a hurry, has really good moves in space, runs well between the tackles. I know he lacks a little size for the position, but I think this offense has a history of using backs that maybe aren't your prototypical NFL back as well. They do a good job of scheming to their backs. And I think Achane could be a guy that could end up being the starter and is a good mid-round gamble at this point in drafts, in my opinion. Another guy I like too is Tank Bigsby. So I know that Travis Etienne is there. He's a starter, but Bigsby's going to be the thunder in this offense. Big back. He could get the goal line carries. Etienne isn't really known to be a goal line back, so maybe Bigsby becomes kind of the Jamal Williams of this Jaguars offense. It could be really good this year. Again, I think Bigsby's a guy I might take a chance on. A lot of teams like to rotate backs these days, and it looks like that's what Jacksonville wants to do here with Bigsby. Use Etienne more of in that pass catching role as well as a runner. So I think Bigsby's going to be on the field, get weekly touches, has a chance to pile up some touchdowns in this Jaguars offense as well. All right, let's go with a player we don't like their landing spot in this NFL draft for running back.
Yeah, a player I don't like is Zach Charbonnet for Seattle Seahawks. He's going to be in a battle with Kenneth Walker for touches. I believe he was the 3rd overall running back taken in the draft. I do think this is a great move for Seattle because Zach Charbonnet is kind of more of a pass catching back and Kenneth Walker is more of that running role. But it really hurts Zach's overall fantasy value going into the year with Kenneth Walker kind of having that number 1 role with how highly talented Charbonnet has been especially at UCLA. So I do think there is some value with him in the pass catching role, but for him to really exceed and being able to be taken in drafts, he's kind of more of a handcuff right now with Walker. If you're also have one, so if one of them gets hurt, the other one has potential to be a running back one. But with them both being mixed and splitting carries, less catches, I think it's hard to have value with just one of them.
So I promise this is the last one we are the same on, but I agree. Charbonnet is my pick as well. I don't really like him in this landing spot just because he's become more of a 1-2 punch. I think it could be more of a timeshare than, even a backup situation. Walker's really good too, and it kind of hurts me to see him be more of a timeshare back as well. I think he was going to be a top 10 type fantasy player, in my opinion, this year. But Charbonnet being there is kind of a concern for me. He's going to get used. He's a very talented player. He catches the ball well, like you said. He's a good 3-down back. So I think he's going to be utilized a lot. They're not going to use this high of a pick on a player and sit him on the bench, in my opinion. 2nd-round pick. So Charbonnet is really going to cloud things in Seattle. It's just a messy situation for fantasy owners, and I'm just scared to use him on my fantasy team because of that. Let's talk about now a sleeper at running back, somebody that could surprise in this rookie class.
Yeah, my sleeper is Kendre Miller. So Miller is going to the Saints, and there's a lot of questions involved with the Saints about their running back with Alvin Kamara. I think they are preparing for Kamara to be suspended, making this pick with Miller, and also bringing in Jamal Williams. They want to be bringing in Jamal Williams to be a 3rd-round or 3rd overall back if they weren't expecting a suspension from Kamara. Based off of what I'm kind of hearing, is probably be in the 6 to 10 game range. So take that into consideration. But if Kamara does get suspended, that running back number 1 role is wide open between Miller and Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams is kind of that bigger back, but I think Miller could get out-touch Williams. So if you're going to get a running back 1 on a decent offense, I would gladly take Kendre Miller as a sleeper pick.
I like that call. He was one of my guys I was looking at for this category as well. I picked Chase Brown with the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Mixon's there, but their backup job is wide open. Brown was highly productive in college. 3-down back, does well between the tackles, catches the ball well as well. So I think a good fit for this Bengals offense. Mixon's getting older. I don't think Brown's going to emerge as a starter, but he could get some work. We saw what they did with Pirine last year. He got a lot of touches, and if Brown emerges as the number 2 back in this offense, he could do well his rookie season. So I think that's a guy, again, you're in deeper leagues, take a chance on him later in drafts. And Mixon's not getting any younger, and it sounded like they wanted to move on from him before the draft, but they ended up not doing it. So I think his days could be numbered, Mixon in Cincinnati. So could be looking towards the future, and Brown could be that. Let's look at that receiver position now, Logan. Always exciting because it seems like there's some good rookie receivers every year that help fantasy teams. Who's a guy you think could do that this year?
Yeah, wide receiver I like this year is Quentin Johnson. Overall, I don't think the wide receiver class is as great as it's been in the past couple of years, but my wide receiver I like the most is Quentin Johnson on the Chargers. I personally overvalue the Chargers wide receivers currently. I think Keenan Allen's getting up there a little bit in age, coming off an injury year. Mike Williams was held under 900 yards last year. They really didn't have a wide receiver number 1 last year because of Keenan Allen's health. Again, he's turning 31, and Quentin Johnson has the size for that deep ball. That's kind of where he thrives, but he also has the explosiveness to make big plays on short passes as well. So I like him as my wide receiver this year.
All right, I'm going to give you a couple guys like I did that running back spot. My first one I like a lot is Jordan Addison with the Minnesota Vikings. They took him in the 1st round. He's going to start opposite of Justin Jefferson from day 1 in an explosive passing attack. And I think Jefferson is going to help Addison. He's going to draw a lot of coverages, make more favorable coverages for Addison, in my opinion. Addison can do it all as well. Short routes, deep routes, gets in and out of his breaks in a hurry, just a fluid route runner. He's going to struggle a little bit with the contested catch, but overall, I think he's set up for a big rookie season. I like him a lot. I think he has a real good chance to be the top rookie receiver this year in this offense. I'm really excited about him this year. We saw what Adam Thielen did when he was at the top of his game, starting opposite Justin Jefferson. Maybe Addison can post similar numbers. Another guy I like is Jalen Hyatt with the played at Tennessee with New York Giants. Now, they took him in the 3rd round. I think he fell a little farther than people thought he would go in the draft. So I think maybe they got a good bargain here. And he lands in a spot that's going to be prime for somebody to step up and emerge as a top receiver in this offense. I know Darren Waller is there, but after that, I really don't like that receiver core at all. in New York. They have Paris Campbell, and they have Isaiah what was the Hodgins was the guy last year also. So it's really wide open, in my opinion, in New York. And I think Hike could emerge. He's really has good length, get downfield in a hurry. He has top end speed. Again, I just think it's a good landing spot, a good opportunity for him to get a lot of playing time right away. Okay, let's talk about somebody we don't like their landing spot here in the NFL draft at receiver. Who's your guy?
Yeah, I don't like his Jackson Smith in the G, but so JSN, he's probably the most talented wide receiver personally, I think, in this wide receiver class, but the location that he's going to is in Seattle is terrible for him. The Seattle also has Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and it's really hard for me to see Tyler Lockett in a wide receiver 3 role. So I personally think JSN slides in there as that their wide receiver 3. There's tons of options on the Seattle offense led by Geno Smith. So we all thought Seattle would have one of the worst offenses last year, and that didn't happen. They surprised everyone. They were able to move the ball. But again, there's just too many options already in the Seattle offense for JSN to put up huge numbers. So I'm going to be avoiding him in drafts. I do think he's probably one of the most talented rookie wide receivers. But again, the volume, I don't think it's going to be there for him this year.
Yeah, that's a concern for me too. But man, that Seattle offense now 3 amazing receivers, 2 good running backs. Geno Smith's looking better in my opinion because of that.
For sure.
Yeah. So I'm going to differ with you and talk about a player that you like, and I'm not quite as high on. That's Quentin Johnson. I'm a little worried about him in that Chargers offense because Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, they're probably going to get most of the work. And then you can't forget about Josh Palmer as well. I do think Johnson's super talented. I just don't like this landing spot for now. I think as soon as Keenan Allen's gone, I mean, maybe it happens before training camp. You never know. They've talked about that also. That's kind of been a rumor going around. But if that would happen, I love Johnson. But as long as Keenan Allen, Mike Williams is there, I'm kind of scared of taking Johnson. I think he's going to have some big games, like him more so in a best ball format. But overall, I think he could be really inconsistent his rookie season because of those other guys he's competing with for targets. So I'm going against you there, Logan. I'm not arguing talent.
Absolutely.
Not so sure. Not so sure about his targets. Let's talk about tight end now. So
Sleeper.
Oh, sleeper. I'm sorry. I almost skipped it. Almost went right over it. Let's talk about a sleeper receiver. So we can't forget about that. Who do you got?
Yeah, sleeper, I've got Jonathan Mingo for Carolina. So Carolina, they have a couple of new wide receivers coming in. They got Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, and then they also had their rookie Terrence Marshall last year. So they really don't have an established wide receiver 1 coming into this year. So I think Mingo is going to have every opportunity to go out there in training camp and win a share of targets from this offense. He didn't put up that great of numbers at Ole Miss, but he had some crazy acrobatic catches. He had over 800 yards, which is all right. But when you're looking at a wide receiver like that from coming out from college and where they took him in the draft, you expect bigger numbers coming out of college. But I do think he has the skill set to go out there and compete for that wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 role in that offense.
That's a good call, Mingo. I like another guy in a good situation, in my opinion, and that's Xavier Hutchinson with the Houston Texans. So he was a much later pick than most of these guys we talked about. Lands in a good spot, not much competition, in my opinion. There's a lot of similar players. He could emerge. He has good size, good speed, and he's been a bit of a late bloomer that he keeps getting better every season also. He's made nice improvements. He's in a great landing spot, like I said, Houston. And he played against great competition in college in the Big 12. So I think the transition could go smooth for him into the NFL. And I think he could end up getting a lot of work for Houston. Might be worth looking at if he starts emerging camp in preseason action. Now let's talk about tight ends. That's the last position we're going to hit. There's some good guys drafted this year, in my opinion. The position has been kind of thin in recent years, so maybe some of these guys will emerge. Who do you like at tight end?
Yeah, tight end I like this year is Michael Mayer. So he was originally supposed to be the top tight end coming into this class. In my recent rookie draft, he went in round 3, which was very surprising. But yeah, like you said, this is a very talented tight end class. I think this was actually a perfect landing spot for Mayer with Darren Waller on the move. You got Jimmy Garoppolo coming in. So I think Mayer's going to get plenty of targets in this offense. You got Devontae Adams competing with that targets, but I think Mayer is going to slide into that starting tight end role immediately. And he put up great numbers at Notre Dame, so I expect him to do the exact same.
Yeah, definitely good spot. Darren Waller he replaces, so that's a good pedigree there for a tight end to land in Las Vegas. I like the first overall tight end picked. That's Dalton Kincaid. I just love this landing spot. Moves to Buffalo, arguably one of the best passing games in all of football. Starts from day one. He's a really good route runner, great hands. He runs outs like a receiver more so than the tight end. I think he's going to make an immediate impact. I know tight end can sometimes be slow to mesh in the NFL, moving from the college game, but you look at the target share as well. I mean, Stephon Diggs racks him up, but after that, they're to be had in Buffalo. And Kincaid could end up being the number 2 target guy in that offense, in my opinion. He's just a super player, just another dynamic weapon in that offense. I'm really excited to see what he can do this year. All right, let's talk about a player we don't like. I lied. We do have one more player that we agree on that we don't like, and you're going to reveal him right now.
Yeah, it's Darnell Washington. I think we both can agree on this, that he is a terrible landing spot for him. Pittsburgh really struggled to move the ball through the air last year. Kenny Pickett only averaged about a little over 200 yards per game. And they also have a established tight end there in Pat Freiermuth. So this is a very odd and not a great landing spot for Darnell Washington this year.
Yeah, I'm the same way as you. I don't quite get it with Pat Fryman there already. It's not like he's been bad. I think he's a solid number 1 tight end. But Washington, he's a freak athlete, though. Just a great athlete, makes highlight reel catches. But, he has some learning to do, and maybe they'll use some 2 tight end sets. But I think he could be a non-factor for a few seasons until he gets his feet wet and Freiermuth maybe moves on, or they trade him or something. But as long as Freiermuth's there, I'm not too excited about Washington. Pittsburgh doesn't really have a history of using a lot of 2 tight end sets, featuring those tight ends. They got some good receivers as well. So I think Washington might have a hard time getting on the field a lot his rookie year. Let's talk about one more now, the sleeper at tight end. One more player to hit. Who do you got?
Yeah, Sam Laporta is my sleeper tight end going to Detroit. So he's instantly going to become a tight end number 1 for them. And he has top tight end speed. So he's a very quick for his size for a tight end position. He's a little on the weaker side for height and weight wise for a tight end, but he makes up within speed and with how Lions are a top 5 offense, like I said, and instantly sliding into that top tight end spot for them. I expect him to make an instant impact, and I really like him as a sleeper pick this year.
My pick at tight end for sleeper is Josh Wiley of the Titans. We talked about it earlier. They need some weapons in the passing game. I know Chig Okonkwo is there in Tennessee. He's going to start, and he looks like a good one, but they could use a lot of 2 tight end sets. Now, that's a team that has done that in the past, and Wiley's a good pass catcher in the passing game at tight end. He does well at catching the ball at his highest point. He has above average speed for the position, a huge target. Like I said, they need weapons in the passing game. I don't like the receiver core, so Wiley could be on the field more often than you would than you would expect, I should say. And they could use a lot of 2 tight end sets. And if you're in 2 tight end leagues as well, not many of those out there, but you got to start looking deeper. I would consider somebody like Wiley. I think he'd end up emerging and getting some consistent work in that offense. All right, Logan, that is our draft recap for this year, 2023 draft recap. Thanks a lot for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Should be a lot of fun watching these rookies progress and see what they do this year. Like you said, interesting class, different mix of players to follow.
For sure. And then we got leagues going off all around now. The Best Ball Championship is now open, $25,000 to first place. So go ahead and check those out. We also got Pick'em going on and all different types of games and contests. Also, invitational invites just got sent out. If you're a top 500 user in RT Sports, you should have got one. If not, those contests will be up in the lobby to join starting next week.
Yeah, that thing's going to be awesome this year. We have a little different format, right, with the picks.
Yeah, so for draft style, we're going to be doing KDS style for the draft format, so Kentucky Derby style to select your draft pick. It's a little bit more skill involved, so you can have a little bit more of a say in where you want to be drafting at in your slots. And we're also going to have that coming to commish leagues as well this year, so be on the lookout for that in commish leagues.
Awesome. We're going to have to talk about strategy for all these different contests and some of these videos as well before the season. I think it'd be fun to maybe talk to some of the people who have done well in the past. I think that'd be a good opportunity to educate some of our viewers out there.
Yeah, all different types of styles and all different types of strategies involved for each one. Each type of contest has a different strategy, so you got to take that into a factor when you're selecting your team.
Definitely. Thanks again, Logan, for joining me. Really appreciate it. This has been Jeff
Yeah.
Paur with RealTime Fantasy Sports.
And this has been Logan Glaser from RealTime Fantasy Sports.
Have a great day, everyone.